Hey, are you interested in learning more about how the SAT essay is scored and what those numbers mean? For example, what is an average essay? What's a great essay? Who looks at the scores? Who determines the scores? All of that stuff I'm going to talk about in this video. So if that's what you're interested in, you're in the right place. I'm Janice and you're watching Sharp Cookie. This is the channel for studying, learning, and test taking advice. I post new videos every week, so please subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. All right, so let's get into today's video on SAT essay scoring. Okay, so the first thing I want to explain is that the SAT essay score is separate from your scoring on the rest of the test. So on math, reading, writing, all of that is a separate composite score. So when someone tells you, hey, I scored a 1340 or a 1260 or an 1110, that's totally separate from the essay score. They are not together. The other thing I want to mention is that the essay is optional. You don't need to take it. So you can have your SAT score and not have an essay score. The second thing I want to say is that the rest of the SAT is very objective, okay? It's all black and white, it's multiple choice, it's fill in, there's a definite answer and a definite wrong answer. On the essay, it's not quite so clear. You have two human beings reading it and giving their own grade and their own opinion on what your essay should score. So depending on the day it is, depending on the person scoring it, you could have had a different score, and that's just the reality of it. The essay score is subjective. Now, each essay is read by two different people, and they usually only have a couple minutes to read it. A lot of times these are English teachers, and they're looking at it very quickly. So first impressions do really matter. They usually don't have time to read through your whole essay word for word, especially if it's longer. So that first impression is so important. Now, each score will rate your essay on a score of 1 to 4. So evaluator number 1 is going to give you a 1 to 4, 1 being weak and 4 being extremely strong. And then the second test reader will also give you a score from 1 to 4. And then those two scores will get added together and you will get a total score from 2 to 8. Okay, so if both scores gave you a 1, that would equal an essay score of 2, which would be the weakest essay. And if both scores gave you a 4 on each on that criteria, then you're at an 8. So an 8 is the highest possible score you can get. The other thing I want to mention is there's 3 different criteria, meaning you're going to get a score from 2 to 8 on 3 separate factors. So you could be at an 8, for example, in one criteria, but a 2 on another. I mean, I don't usually see that, but in theory, that can happen. The first dimension that you're going to be graded on is called the reading score. So again, you're going to get a score between 2 and 8 based on 2 different evaluators, 2 being the weakest, 8 being the strongest. What are they evaluating on the reading score? They're trying to know whether you actually comprehended the passage itself. So how good were you at paraphrasing the information? How good were you at quoting the information in places where it makes sense and not doing too few quotes and not over quoting to the point where you're just rewriting the passage itself? So they're evaluating, did you read it? Did you actually understand what the author was saying? So this grading criteria is all about reading comprehension. Now, the second dynamic that you're being scored on, again from 2 to 8, is called analysis score. The analysis score is different from the reading score. The analysis score is all about how well did you analyze the argument that the author wrote. So did you address all the criteria that we talked about as far as literary devices? Did you talk about how the author used word choice and repetition, how they appealed to the emotions, how they used data? And of course, there's many more things that you can talk about, but they want to know, did you evaluate it well? And did you pick up on those most relevant things that the author used to push forward their argument and persuade the reader? Now, the third score, so there's three: reading, analysis, and the third score is your writing score. And this is very clear. They look at grammar, they look at word choice, they look at how you structured your essay. Did you have a thesis statement? Was each paragraph cohesive? Did you have a nice conclusion? These are all the normal things that you learn in school that your English teacher wants to see. So that third score is your writing score. Now, from what I've seen and analysis I've read online, the hardest one to score high on is the analysis score. So usually the reading score and the writing score can be pretty high, and the analysis score might be a little bit less. Now I want to talk about what is a good score. So you're on a scale of 1 to 4, and there's going to be some regression to the mean, which means most scores are going to give you a 2 or 3. So the vast majority of essays, someone's going to read your essay and they're not going to think it's absolutely terrible, and they're not going to think, oh my God, this should win like 10 awards. So most kids are going to fall in the middle, and your essay is going to get a 2 or a 3 from each reader, which means when you combine those scores, it's going to be between 4 and 6 per section. So most students can expect between 4 to 6 on each of the 3 evaluation criteria, and maybe a point lower on analysis. So on average, the average essay, this is just middle of the road, 50th percentile, is going to probably be around a 5, 4, 5. Okay, so now that I told you what the average score is, you're probably wondering, well, if I want to go to a really good school, what do I need to get? So Berkeley actually released some information on what their students were scoring on the essay, and most of their essays, when all 3 scores were totaled, were between a 17 and a 20. So this would mean about getting a 6 on each section. That would give you an 18, which would mean you'd have to get a 3 from each score. So that gives you a general idea of what you want to be targeting if you're going for a top school. As a follow-up to this video, I recommend you watch my other video on the SAT essay format. In that video, I spend a little bit more time talking about what the prompt looks like and the style of the essay itself, and what the test takers are looking for you to analyze and answer based on that. So check out that video on the SAT essay format. It'll give you even more background beyond just the score. Also, if you're interested in joining my online community, it's called Sharp Cookie Community. It's on Facebook. I'd love for you to join. I'm going to be very active in answering all your questions, giving you free advice on the SAT and ACT, but also other advice. Maybe you have some math test coming up. You have a question about studying or test taking that I can help with. So find me on Facebook. I also do online tutoring on the SAT and ACT, and obviously academic tutoring as well, college essay writing, whole bunch of stuff. So email me at hellosharpcookie@gmail.com. So if you enjoyed this video today, give me a thumbs up. Please comment, subscribe. I post new videos every week on test taking topics. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. This is Sharp Cookie. I'm Janice. Take care.